This week, we celebrate Mozilla finally hiring a new CEO, and we hope he doesn't do dumb things. We talk about the Linux Foundation and its finances. Then, that GPL court case we covered, quite a while ago, finally may be getting closer to resolution. The mainline kernel packages are back on Ubuntu, and a whole lot more. You don't want to miss it, so stay tuned.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is the Untitled Linux Show, episode 234, recorded Saturday, December the 20th. Crescent Wrench AI. Hey folks, it is Saturday, and you know what that means. It is time for the Untitled Linux Show. We're going to nerd out over the Linux kernel and software and some hardware stuff. It's going to be a lot of fun. I have my two normal holiday co-hosts with us today. We've got Rob and Jeff. Welcome to the show, guys.
Hello. Good to be here.
Yeah, we were
holiday
just
and non-holiday.
Yes, yeah. Well, Ken is usually around non-holiday, but he is working more hours than he wants to. Well, yes, Rob. Yes, that was the implication. Anyway, we were comparing notes before we got started about the various side projects, like where we've done work for people in the past. And I was telling the guys I'm actually trying to sell the little tiny business that I've got here locally to be able to work on some other things. We sort of decided that it's really nice, though, to have a server or a virtual server somewhere because we enjoy SSHing into boxes and installing updates.
Yep.
Oh, well, there is a business that is trying to do a CEO update. Rob, do you think this is the one, or is this going to be another unintentional interim CEO over at Mozilla?
I'm going to say this is the one.
This is the one.
Big deal here. Yeah, so there is a lot going on at Mozilla this week, starting with a new CEO. So Anthony Enzer DeMeo, I don't know, has been named the new CEO of Mozilla Corporation, replacing the interim CEO, Laura Chambers. So he started out with a public message saying, quote, "People want software that is fast, modern, but also honest about what it does. They want to understand what's happening and to have real choices. Mozilla and Firefox can be that choice. First, every product we build must give people agency in how to work or how it works. Privacy, data use, and AI must be clear and understandable. Controls must be simple. AI should always be a choice, something people can easily turn off. People should know why a feature works the way it does and what value they get from it. Second, our business model must align with trust. We will grow through transparent monetization that people recognize and value. You know, like Google money. Third, Firefox will grow from a browser into a broader ecosystem of trusted software. Firefox will remain our anchor. It will evolve into a modern AI browser and support a portfolio of new and trusted software additions. So lots of AI there, lots of trust, lots of other things. You know, I'm all for AI myself, but a lot of what I hear from, many of the folks out there is that trust and privacy, at least for them, contradict with AI. Or in general, I guess they just don't trust AI. But so to me, this message there, it's their way of trying to combine the very different paradigms. How to make Firefox an AI browser built on trust and privacy. The way that things have been going at Microsoft with Firefox, it is clear they have to do something, and maybe this is the right step. Sink or swim? I don't know. But, have no fear. It was maybe implied in that statement, but if you didn't catch it, if you love Firefox and hate AI, and Enzer DeMeo has confirmed there will be an AI kill switch to disable it all, saying his quote, "Rest assured." And this is what he said afterwards, after some people called it out. Apparently didn't catch that he said there'd be choice and options. And it wasn't exactly hard in there, like Maybe it's a choice between AIs. I don't know. But anyway, it says, rest assured, Firefox will always remain a browser built around user control that includes AI. You will have a clear way to turn AI features off. A real kill switch is coming in Q1 2026. Choice matters, and demonstrating our commitment to choice is how we build and maintain trust. And then also, I think even before this, on Mastodon, Firefox developer Jake Archibald said, quote, something hasn't been made clear. It wasn't clear, but anyway, it was kind of there. Firefox will have an option to completely disable all AI features. We've been calling it the AI kill switch internally, but I'm sure it'll ship with a less murderous name. But that's how serious and absolute we're taking this. So, yeah, I guess apparently the initial statement, people didn't quite read between the lines, and it wasn't necessarily clear that you're going to be able to turn it off. Just because it's there, you don't have to use it, but it's there for those who want it. But let's go on. Firefox isn't the only Mozilla software with things in the works. Thunderbird has made some announcements for 2026 as well. Don't worry, it isn't AI, but it is Microsoft. Thunderbird 145 will see native Microsoft Exchange support. Okay, that's it for the Microsoft stuff. Not that horrible after all, is it? Anyway, they're also going to continue to work on their mobile offerings, and we should also see the awaited Thundermail and Thunderbird Pro released in 2026. And finally, we can look forward to what they say is going to be a refresh of the Thunderbird calendar user interface. User interface is something I've always thought Thunderbird needed, and then they made improvements recently. But keep the UI improvements going because I like them. But yeah, so the new CEO, big things in the works with Firefox AI, and maybe not as big for Thunderbird. I don't know. It depends where you sit. Maybe they are as big. I don't know. Thundermail is pretty cool. So I'm looking forward to a lot of this stuff.
You know, Thunderbird being able to talk with Microsoft Exchange is kind of the killer feature that it's missing right now. So if that's something that they can bring to the table, I think that's going to make Thunderbird suddenly a first-class contender again.
Yeah, it's definitely a big improvement.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for those who are using.
I don't know how much people really hate AI as much as it's.
So I don't
all the time.
Hold on, Jeff.
Jeff, you're using the wrong microphone or something.
Oh,
you're 100 miles away. You got very small all of a sudden. Not any better. That's hilarious. Yeah, I thought at first one of us, it was accidentally feeding audio back, and I was hearing Rob like through speakers or something. And it's like, is that me making that noise? That was funny. Still not sure what's going on there. Yeah, the deal with Jeff, you just keep talking, and when you're loud enough to interrupt us, we'll let you know. The deal with Mozilla and Firefox, it's interesting because like they want so badly to put AI into the browser, and the browser, at least the way I see it, the browser is the tool that can get you to the AI platforms, whether it be, Copilot built into GitHub or, any of the others. Like that gets hosted on a web page. Except for a couple of really, really small use cases, I just don't see the point of putting AI in the browser. Now, there are a couple that make sense, and that's things like if a picture does not have an alt text, you can ask AI to generate an alt text. Like that is genuinely useful. But anything else they're wanting to do, it's like, why spend the work on it when people really don't want it?
I mean, you could say, I kind of hate really long form articles myself. I like give me something condensed. So, I mean, you could say summarize this page, but You can also do that with any other third party.
Yeah. Do you really want your web browser to be the thing that does that? I don't know.
Are we going back to the trust thing? Do you not trust the accuracy?
It's not even that. It's just like it's the wrong. It doesn't feel like the right tool for the job.
Maybe. I mean, I compare it to like the text to speech visual aids people. You know, it's like it's going a little beyond that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
How about now? Can you hear me?
It's about the same, Jeff. I don't know what the deal is. Something is real weird there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and take it while Jeff works his audio still, and I am going to talk about the GPL. And we may come back and talk about Mozilla stuff here in just a minute, but there's a big GPL case. I think we've mentioned it in the past. It's been a while, and there is now an update. So this is the Vizio case. And what's going on here is Vizio makes TVs. They make smart TVs, and they have taken GPL code and put it into their TVs. And this code, obviously it's GPL, and so that means everything that links to it is supposed to be covered by the GPL. And so the Software Freedom Conservancy sent a letter to Vizio and said, hey, you use the GPL. You should send us a copy of all of your source code. And Vizio said no. And actually what I think that is, they sent a partial copy of it. And SFC was like, nope, that's not good enough. That is not how this works. They actually took them to court over it, which is a very rare thing to happen because court cases are generally expensive. So nobody really wants to do it. Well, this was quite a while ago. It's like over a year ago, I think, that this court case first happened. And we now finally are getting some rulings out of it. And so we have a tentative ruling here that grants the Software Freedom Conservancy's motion on this issue. So here's the one specific issue that we have a tentative ruling on, that a direct contract was made between SFC and Vizio when someone from the SFC requested the source code to a TV. Now, this is a pretty big deal because one of the legal challenges to the GPL and to all of these, copyleft style open source licenses is that it's not a contract. And the people that you're trying, so like the company that you're trying to force to release the source code, they would say, we're not a party to that contract, therefore we are not required to abide by it. And so that's one of the legal things that needed to be tested about the GPL. And it looks like it is going to win with the clear intent of the GPL is going to win the day in this court case, which is a really good thing. Like going through a court case and being vindicated is going to, in a legal sense, it's going to strengthen the GPL quite a bit. It's interesting as you read through this, there's some almost bizarre legal arguments that Vizio was trying to make. Like, if you're in a lawsuit related to the GPL, you automatically lose your right to ask for source code. I'm not sure how, what hoops they jumped through legally to try to get to that point, but it seems like the judge was not having it, which is good. So this is not the end of this, but it seems to be a step in the right direction. I imagine within the next few weeks, we will get a bit more news as this tentative ruling becomes sort of an official ruling. Now, that's not necessarily the end of the case. That's just this one particular bit that has been ruled upon. But it's an interesting update. And like I said, it seems that things are going in the right direction. So welcome back, Jeff.
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Hey, we can hear you now. Perfect.
I blame Chromium.
Sure. I do that too. I would blame Chromium too.
Well, yeah, you're in a Firefox discussion. Of course, Chromium's gonna be like, okay, I don't want to be a part of this. Yeah,
we're just gonna mute that. There's some Gemini in there going, yeah, we're gonna censor that. No, what I was trying to say before on that one was just going back to the Firefox. I don't think people hate AI that much. It's more of just how much it's forced on you all the time. And it's like, AI, I think, is a wonderful tool, but I only want the tool when I need the tool, not, it might be the best crescent wrench in the world, but I'm eating supper. I don't need a crescent wrench right now. Stop trying to force it on me.
So since there's an off switch, you're good with this one. What Firefox is doing. Okay.
Oh, I already have it turned off. I have AI because it pops up like I'm watching YouTube, and a lot of times I'll just click on a video, so it automatically jumps to 2x speed, and then it'll be like, "Oh, you want a summary of this video, and we'll do this for you." And I'm like, "No, just go away. When I want AI, I will contact you. Until then, don't bother me."
Yeah, that's
and
funny.
I don't like the automatic summaries. We're going to do this for you. No, you'll do what I tell you to do, and until then, leave me alone.
Though, you're actually doing the reverse of talking me out of AI. It's making me want to actually try Firefox again just to see what this new stuff is.
Well, I can't tell you much about it because it kind of got in the way. It turned me off. I went in and killed it all. But I actually put it in the Discord how to go through and filter all that out and how to shut it off. But no, I've done some wonderful things. I use it at work all the time. It'll do very complex tasks. You got to double check it, but I don't need it for just dumb little, here's 3 paragraphs on a new motorcycle I'm looking at, or the latest NVIDIA driver or something. It's like, I don't need you to summarize this. It's already pretty short. It's fine. Get out of my way.
I actually know how to read. Please don't do it for me. I don't need my reading chewed up before I get to it.
As Jonathan's wife just posted in Discord, I am the boss here.
Yes.
I said stop, and did I stutter? No.
All right. Well, here in just a moment, we're going to turn it over to Jeff, and we're going to talk about a new kernel and how to get it. And that's coming right after this.
Hey, everybody. Leo Laporte here with a little bit of an ask. Every year at this time, we'd like to survey our audience to find a little bit more about you. As you may know, we respect your privacy. We don't do anything. In fact, we can't do anything to learn about who you are. And that's fine with me. I like that. But it helps us with advertising. It helps us with programming to know a little bit about those of you who are willing to tell us. Your privacy is absolutely respected. We do get your email address, but that's just in case there's an issue. We don't share that with anybody. What we do share is the aggregate information that we get from these surveys. Things like 80% of our audience buy something they heard in an ad on our shows, or 75% of our audience are IT decision makers. Things like that are very helpful with us when we talk to advertisers. They're also very helpful to us to understand what operating systems you use, what content you're interested in. So, enough. Let me just ask you, if you will, go to twit.tv/survey26 and answer a few questions. It should only take you a few minutes of your time. We do this every year. It's very helpful to us. Your privacy is assured, I promise you. And of course, if you're uncomfortable with any question or you don't want to do it at all, that's fine too. But if you want to help us out a little bit, twit.tv/survey26. Thank you so much. And now, back to the show.
This story caught my eye because if installing a later kernel in Ubuntu used to be a script. I used to do it, and there was a mainline tool, and it did the work, and you just selected the kernel you wanted and installed it. It'd build the mod files, against the header files of the kernel. It'd work with the new kernel. It was pretty straightforward. It was a graphical little interface, and it worked great. Well, there was an issue a while back, maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, something like that. The mainline repository broke, and the mainline repository is the Ubuntu repository where they build new kernels with the Ubuntu settings. So for whatever reason, something in there broke and they weren't building the new kernels. Now, yes, I know people, a lot of our users are going, you can just manually build it. Pull the current settings of your existing kernel, use them to compile the new kernel. You'll be up and running and away you go. But that's more than a lot of people want to do. And the reason I say pull the existing kernel settings is it just integrates better with your operating system if you match how the original OEM kernel was built with the new one. So it just integrates a lot smoother, so you don't have modules that are missing or anything like that. Now, I was looking through various feeds for stories to talk about this week, and what's going to catch my eye? So I'm flipping through, looking at stuff, and I saw this, and I opened it up because I was curious how they were recommending that the kernel get installed on Ubuntu, and of course all subsequent flavors, the Kubuntu, Lubuntu, so on. Well, the story linked in the show notes gives you two ways you can do it, and both are using the mainline kernels that the Ubuntu team builds. Now, before we get too far, and if you want to update your kernel, I just got to say this. These kernels are produced with no warranty. The Ubuntu kernel team will not offer support for these kernels in case you have issues, and they will not be held responsible for any damages these kernels may cause due to improper installation or use. Well, you might be asking yourself, why do they even make these? Well, the mainline kernels are for system maintainers and OEMs who will take the responsibilities on themselves. Maybe you're a Dell or some major company and you need hardware support or a feature that's in a newer kernel. And this way you can do it, and you can have it match what Canonical normally builds. But because Canonical's not running through all the various quality checks that they do with kernels that get released and make it into the distributions, they don't know if there are going to be any odd corner case issues. For any long-term listeners of the show, they know that personally I've run them in the past without issues, but I'm also not an enterprise business that needs 5 nines of uptime. If I had a weird crash because of it, it's not the end of the world. I reboot and roll back to a previous kernel or whatever, so it's risk versus reward. But I never really had too many problems with them. They were pretty solid out of the box. So bottom line is I was happily surprised to see the mainline kernel tool is back. Now, in the article linked in the show notes, there are 3 commands to run. It'll install a kernel with the aid of that graphical tool. It is from a non-official repository. Now, it has been around quite a while, and it's pretty well trusted. But if you are a person who really doesn't want to go that way, because it's a non-official repository, there is a second method in the article. And it talks about how you can download all the kernel parts you need, which does require your CPU in your system. The example in the article is the files you need are for the x86 AMD 64 kernel, which is what most people will need. Now, I should say, if you're not hardware kernel savvy, even if you have an Intel CPU, the AMD 64 files are the ones you're going to want. The 64 is the important part. I think AMD was tacked on there because I think they were one of the first ones, or the first one to have 64-bit chips in the consumer sector. Mm-hmm. I don't know for sure. I'm swagging on that one.
No, that's what it is.
Okay. It then talks about how, you go into the directory, they're downloaded in, and then you can use the sudo space, dpackage space, -i space, *deb to install them all. So still pretty easy. You're not pulling header files. You're not manually massaging previous settings to apply to new ones and baking and all that kind of stuff. And you're not going through the options file to make sure your kernel's getting compiled with the proper options. It's because it comes from the mainline repository. It's all basically kind of been done for you. So easy to install, just a few more steps and not as automated. The mainline tool lets you remove old kernels as well. So it was kind of an easy way to manage the kernels you had on your system. Now, with that being said, if you do install and there are problems, you have your previous kernel still in there because most likely you didn't uninstall it. And almost all the bootloaders, basically all of them that I know of, I'm sure there's probably an exception or something, but it allows you to choose an older kernel if you so desire. So if you have a kernel that just really is bricking your system, you go into your bootloader and go, wow, I'm just going back to this older kernel that worked. And you can just jump in there and then you can remove the newer kernel, or maybe there's some updates, or reinstall because something didn't go good, or whatever you need to do. So it's not an end of the road if you got a wrong kernel in there. Have a look at the article linked in the show notes for full details. And, not sure exactly when it showed back up, but welcome back, Mainline.
Yeah, you talked about some of the people that want to be able to use that, and I will add another one, and that is other maintainers. that are maintaining packages. You want to be able to go and check stuff beforehand. You want some group of people running that new kernel to be able to find bugs before it becomes the official kernel. So them too.
Yeah, that's a good call out. I hadn't even thought of.
Yeah.
All righty, Rob, what is up at the Linux Foundation?
So the Linux Foundation is a nonprofit that supports and funds major open source projects by providing neutral governance, legal and IP help, infrastructure, and community programs so these projects can grow and stay sustainable. And, well, finances are looking pretty good for them over the past year and projected for the next year. Their newly published 2025 annual report shows an organization that is expanding its role into, areas like AI and has the finances to suggest they have the capacity to keep scaling that work up. In the report, the Linux Foundation forecasts gross revenue of $311,343,021 for the 2025 year, crossing the 300 million mark for the first time. The breakdown shows over 133 million from memberships and donations, over 83 million from projects and services, and 29 million from training and certifications, and over 58 million from events, sponsorships, and registrations, plus other revenue in there too. On the expense side, the report forecasts almost 285 million across expense categories. So that leaves a good, I didn't jot down the math, but you're looking at over 30 million to, throw some money my way, I guess. I don't know. So out of that, the expenses, the largest share is labeled project support at almost 182 million, alongside spending on training, projects, infrastructure, community tooling, event services, international operations, and of course, the Linux kernel project. The annual report is also a recap of where the Linux Foundation put its energy this year, which highlights several notable launches and milestones across its portfolio. One of the biggest is the formation of the Agentic AI Foundation, intended to provide neutral governance for open standards and tooling in the rapidly growing agentic AI space. It's all about AI today, guys. The Linux Foundation also points
every day.
just like every day. That's the life we live these days. So they also point to the contributions of Newton and open source robotics learning and simulation engine efforts supported by Disney Research, Google DeepMind, and NVIDIA, brought under the Linux Foundation stewardship to accelerate open robot learning. On the networking side, Linux Foundation Networking announced SDM 1.0 this year, positioning it as a modular AI native platform to help integrate AI into networking applications and operations. But, when you put this all together, this report shows a growing organization, growing revenue, investing heavily in project support, and expanding into new areas like AI governance and sustainability funding models. And if this financial trajectory holds, it should strengthen the Linux Foundation's ability to provide even more funding, better tooling, and more durable governance for Linux and open source projects that need the long-term stability. We're always talking about projects and, financing being one of the tough things that, when somebody's just doing something solo and for just the love of it, they get burned out. So, hopefully the Linux Foundation can help minimize that burnout by paying people to do the work.
Yeah. So I've got to wonder. Let's see. Can I full screen this real quick? Yep. Okay. Let's see what we can do here. Because I am going to share my screen. Check this out. This is the screenshot from the Phoronix article. And I've got to tell you, that gross revenue ring, it's driving me nuts. because it doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense at all. So that shows about 90% of everything being the membership and donations, and membership and donations is not even 50%. And I looked at that and I went, something is not right there. And then I went and actually pulled up the report, and in the report itself, they made an adjustment to those same charts. It's like, these make more sense. So I was sort of, while you were talking, I was looking at that going, did they let the AI make the ring charts? Maybe they should not have.
I was going to say, boys and girls, that's why you always double check the work that's done when you ask AI to do something.
That's maybe exactly what that was. Oh, goodness gracious.
You're on mute, Rob. Now it's you. It's your turn.
Now it's your turn.
I
wasn't
show
talking. Of audio problems.
I wasn't talking. I was just shaking my head and moving my lips to exercise. Yeah, that's something though. Had to be AI, unless they I don't know, add an extra few zeros to their Excel spreadsheet on the one,
something like number. That. Yeah. Maybe the Excel spreadsheet, because that's one of the ways you would do that. You would create one of those. Maybe the Excel spreadsheet, they just selected the wrong row of numbers to get the graph from.
To be fair, when I was reading my notes, I changed those numbers to, I didn't read out the full number. I changed it, 82 million and 132 million or whatever it was. In my own notes, one of them, I had like a K after it. So I don't know, when I was reading those numbers off, there was a time where you may have caught me like pause, because I'm like, no, these were all millions, right? I know these were all millions.
They're all millions.
So I don't know. Maybe did something dumb like that.
Yeah, who knows?
Probably AI, though. It was AI.
I bet it was AI. All right. I have got something that really surprised me in the NVIDIA world. We're going to talk about here in just a second.
Hello, everybody. Leo Laporte here. You know what a great gift would be, whether for the holidays or at just any time, a birthday? A membership in Club TWiT. If you have a TWiT listener in your family, somebody who enjoys our programming, and you want to give them a nice gift and support what we do, visit twit.tv/Club TWiT. They'll really appreciate it, and so will we. Thank you. twit.tv/Club TWiT.
So the headline that caught my attention was that NVIDIA driver packages are now using the open kernel modules. And I went, what? Officially? Already? Thought that was going to be months away. Well, so the rest of the story is it's the Arch Linux NVIDIA driver packages. This is still, I think, sort of a significant turning point. And it's tied to the fact that the stable NVIDIA 590 drivers is dropping support for some old cards. And I think that is what led Arch to do this. But what Arch has done is that they are using the open source kernel modules. I forget what it actually calls it. Well, they're replacing the NVIDIA package with the NVIDIA Open, NVIDIA DKMS with NVIDIA Open DKMS, etc., and the Nova.
The Nova driver.
Yes, Nova. I believe that's what this is.
NVIDIA's solution is Nova. Right now, they're using a lot of Novu to load some of the.
And this is not Novu. And so the article calls that out at the very end, that you could also use Novu, but that is not what this is. This is actually going, I believe, to Nova in Arch. So if you're running Arch and you go grab the NVIDIA driver by default, you're going to be running Nova. And they apparently think it's ready. Or maybe it's just Arch. And
previously, Novu was doing some of the loading of some of the other code because Nova was not ready. Some of the latest benchmarking that had happened on Phoronix. They said it's still a few months away, but maybe they had some nice code go in that polished it a little more.
That's a few months away for the normal slow distributions like Ubuntu, but for the big guys like Arch, we're ready.
Yeah, apparently. I don't run NVIDIA, nor do I run Arch. So like this is very much outside of my immediate knowledge, which is why it's useful to have you two here. He's one that runs NVIDIA and the other has run Arch.
Well,
I got both.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go, Jeff.
Cashew's based on Arch, so.
Yeah.
So I wonder if this means that like with your next update to Cache, it's going to start trying to grab the open source kernel modules.
I don't know. I'm on 590 right now. It just loaded that in. So I don't know if that's the open source modules or if it's the full proprietary driver.
Now, the other thing with this is it's not clear from the way the actual article is written up. Is this only for the Pascal drivers? Pascal, Maxwell, and older. And I'm not 100% sure, but it looks like, from what I understand, it looks like they are moving to the NVIDIA Open. In anyway, I think regardless, whichever way it goes, it's interesting to see, this is becoming more and more of a thing, and it's sort of getting to the point of being an option.
Yeah, pretty soon I'm not going to be able to rag on NVIDIA for their proprietariness.
Well, in all fairness, though, a lot of that just got moved to firmware, and they have an open source. Oh, look, we're all open. Load proprietary firmware. Oh, it's in firmware, so it's doesn't count.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what AMD did as well. That's what these guys have done.
I agree. It doesn't count.
Does it not count? I don't know. It works on my Fedora machine. Now, that kind of means it counts.
Well, it works on your Fedora machine. That's what I mean. He's saying it doesn't count as open source because they just moved it to the firmware.
Right. So you get into a whole other sort of discussion there. And I've had this discussion with some of the EFF guys. It's like, where do you draw the line at what is and is not okay to run proprietary code on your machine? Like, must every firmware blob be open? And that's the line that a lot of folks draw, the purists. And I have to ask, well, no, there's more firmware on your machine than just the things that you have to load. Every chip has firmware running on it of some sort.
Exactly.
Like
if it makes you run if it allows you to run your hardware on any system easier because that piece is just in the firmware, then I don't know, it's a good thing.
You start getting into what is firmware. If I have an NVMe drive and it's kind of locked down, could you consider that? It's stored on chip and it's not easily accessible if it's locked down.
Your NVMe drive absolutely has firmware on it. Hard drives have for a very long time.
It's software that I don't have to worry about too much.
I know. How do you really get into the, you can get pretty pedantic in the software versus firmware.
Right. Yeah. So like it's an embedded device. It's still running the Linux kernel. Is it software or is it firmware?
Yeah. And if you say, well, it's stored on chip, because that was the old, one of the old definitions.
Mm-hmm.
NVMe, all the data is stored on chip.
Yep. Yeah, that's fair. I see what you mean. Indeed. All right. Speaking of data stored on chips, there is an update for a file system. Looks like Jeff's going to talk about it. What is new in OpenZFS for all of you non-Americans out there?
Well, being American, it's going to be ZFS for me. But there is a new release of OpenZFS. It's version 2.4.0, and it's been set free into the wild. It's compatible with kernels 4.18 up to 6.18. So it won't do 19 yet, or they haven't fully tested it to see if it's forward compatible. This release had 121 contributors, so this is a very supported and alive project. So there's a lot of people putting time and effort into this. And that was 121 contributors to this specific release, not just overall in general. There's some nice key features with this release, such as now you're able to set a default quota for a user, a group, or a project. For uncached I/O, you now have direct I/O fallback to a lightweight uncached I/O when things are unaligned. there's unified allocation throttling. So it's a new algorithm designed to reduce VDEV fragmentation, which means reduce the fragmentation of the free space within a VDEV or virtual device. It's not talking about the data itself being fragmented. There's better encryption performance using AVX2 for AES-GCM, and that's advanced encryption standard Galoris counter mode. It's an authenticated encryption algorithm used by OpenZFS to provide both confidentiality and integrity for data at rest. It's the default and recommended encryption method in basically all the modern OpenZFS versions due to high performance and security. It'll now allow ZIL on special UDEVs or VDEVs when available. ZIL is a ZFS intent log. And what it does is it logs asynchronous writes to disk, ensuring data integrity and consistently, especially after crashes or power loss. 240 also extends special small blocks to land ZVOL writes on special VDEVs and allows non-power of 2 values, and adds the ZFS rewrite-p command to preserve logical birth time when possible for minimizing incremental stream size. It adds ZFS space rewrite-p, which preserves logical birth time when possible to minimize the stream size. It adds a -a or a -- all option, which scrubs, trims, or initializes all imported pools. There's a zpool scrub -S space -E to scrub specific time ranges. So if you only want certain parts of your file system changes scrubbed, you can do that. Add zpool prefetch -T space BRT to prefetch BRT. Well, that's the block cloning table. And it relaxes topology restrictions on special dedupe VDEVs. There's improvements to A-shift handling, multiple gang blocks improvements and fixes, new deduplication optimizations and fixes, new block cloning optimizations and fixes. So, and that's just a few of the improvements to the OpenZFS file system. Take a look at the article linked in the show notes for a lot more details. And it's got the article has a link to the GitHub release page, which includes all changes, and there's even removed module options. So happy reading.
Yeah. So where does OpenZFS make sense? Who's the kind of the target audience to actually run it?
I think it's more enterprise and, home labs, I guess, if you want to really experiment with some of that. But
sure.
Replication.
Is that one of the things it really does well?
Yeah, so a few examples where I've seen it in production is one, Proxmox. I don't use it on my Proxmox. I should have. I kind of wish I would have, because you have to have that for replication. And then also a backup appliance that we've used for work. Well, we do it virtual often, but it uses ZFS for replication, and also just like ButterFS for the snapshot. So I in my opinion, at least the two big features are replication and snapshots. Like you can replicate, and then you do like a Z send is the command, and it will replicate over only the changes between your local drive and wherever you're replicating it to.
Yeah. So it's
way overkill for an average home user.
Yeah.
Unless you want to play. Because part of it too is it can handle if you're writing data to a drive and you lose power and everything crashes, because of the logging files and all that, it knows what was written and what wasn't, and it can handle that kind of disruption.
It also has like data scrubbing to protect from bit rot kind of things. And it's a lot like ButterFS, but with more to it, really. Is
it just a coincidence that ZFS and XFS are just a couple of letters away, or is one of those intended to poke fun at the other?
Oh, I bet there's something there.
OpenZFS was my understanding, was designed to basically get around some of the copyright issues that ZFS has, because otherwise ZFS, or I shouldn't say copyright, I should say patent issues with
that's licensing.
Yeah, because there was always a gray area. Could it be included in the kernel or not? And the decision was, well, let's just not include it because we're not 100% sure it's completely safe to include in the kernel. So open was written to say, well, let's just do what ZFS does, only without the infringement issues or possible issues. It's never been truly sorted out.
Yeah, it looks like OpenZFS is also not upstream in Linux, probably for similar reasons.
Yep. That's why.
Because you can run it on Linux, you can compile the kernel modules yourself.
Yeah, Ubuntu is like one of the only ones I think that will offer it on install. I don't know of really any others that will, and I think mainly because of the licensing.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, let's see. We've got something very interesting coming next. Rob is going to tell us about a notable first for the Rust in the Linux project, and we're going to hear about it right after this.
Hey everybody, it's Leo Laporte. You know about MacBreak Weekly, right? You don't? Oh, if you're a Macintosh fan or you just want to keep up what's going on with Apple, this is the show for you. Every Tuesday, Andy Anako, Alex Lindsay, Jason Snell, and I get together and talk about the week's Apple news. It's an easy subscription. Just go to your favorite podcast client and search for MacBreak Weekly or visit our website, twit.tv/MBW. You don't want to miss a week of MacBreak Weekly.
Okay, folks. Rust is a great programming language. And when done right, it can be more secure by protecting from memory access types of vulnerabilities. But remember that being developed in Rust doesn't automatically make it secure. You know, there are other types of vulnerabilities that could still be in the code. I actually had an argument with fairly prominent, I don't know if that might be a stretch, but a Linux social media moderator, I'll say, on this recently. And, you know, I don't know if it was, if I wasn't communicating clearly or what, but he did not seem to get what I was saying when I kind of said being developed in Rust doesn't automatically make it secure. He's like, what do you mean? It's more secure because it has this. I'm like, I didn't say it wasn't more secure. I'm saying there are other bugs. It's like, but that's most of the vulnerabilities out there. Anyway, it was a fun conversation. I'm like, yeah, that's great. But anyway, here is another example. Oh yeah, one of the things I said, don't you listen to podcasts to keep up with this stuff? Anyway. Here's another example. As the Linux kernel just hit a milestone, the first CVE has been assigned to Rust code in the mainline kernel. So Greg Kohartman announced that CVE-2025-68260 applies to the Android binder driver rewrite in Rust, which landed in the Linux 6.18 kernel. Binder is the core IPC mechanism Android uses to let different parts of the system communicate. The issue is a race condition, a timing bug where multiple code paths can access the same length data at the wrong moment. Because this code includes some unsafe Rust, that race can corrupt the list's previous and next pointers and trigger memory corruption that leads to a crash. The key detail here is that this CVE is a crash-only bug. It's not described as a remote code execution or privilege escalation problem, but it does not. And it does not appear to enable attackers to take control of your system. But who knows? You know, sometimes they find a vulnerability, it bounces here, and they get to there, but at this time, it seems like it's just going to crash your system and annoy you. So that distinction is part of why this is being treated as a useful real-world data point in the Rust in kernel debate. Rust reduces a large class of memory safety problems, but it doesn't eliminate bugs, especially where unsafe code and concurrency meet. So Greg Kroll-Hartman also used the moment to put the Rust in context. The same day this Rust CVE was assigned, there were 159 other CVEs tied to fixes in the C portions of the code base, reinforcing the message that Rust isn't a silver bullet, but it can reduce vulnerability, volume, and severity as adoption grows. Though my injection here is, there is far more C code than Rust code in the kernel. So at a
159 to 1 ratio.
Yeah, ratio. There we go.
Statistical analysis.
159 to 1 ratio is the C code to Rust. Probably a lot more than 159 to 1. So I don't know. When you only have one, it's really hard to do a real statistical analysis on it. But we'll see as we go forward what happens. But though I do think Rust will be the safer choice in the long run. As Kroll-Hartman pointed out, it isn't a silver bullet. So just remember that. But for this bug, a fix is already available. If you're running Linux 6.18, update to 6.18.1 or newer, if there's something else out by the time you hear this. And it's also present in the 6.19-RC1. The kernel CVE team's general guidance applies here too. So update to the latest stable release or whatever is beyond these vulnerability ones, and you should be good to go. So the inclusion, Rust is good, but not a perfect silver bullet. It is still susceptible to developer error, just less susceptible. So you still gotta update when your security updates come.
Yeah, so there's like 3 different points to be made here, and you touched on most of them, but I'm going to reiterate. First, one that we've talked about before is the kernel has a CVE policy that says essentially any bug is a vulnerability because it's in the kernel. And that is maybe a little bit of an oversimplification and an overexaggeration, but that is what they do. And so like if this were in any other program, it may not have even been considered a CVE. I'm not sure.
No, you could also then say those 159 may actually be a lot lower.
A lot of those, yes.
So that changes that ratio potentially.
Yes. One of the other points to make and remake is Rust has the unsafe keyword specifically to be able to do kernel work, because there are some things that you have to do with your kernel, specifically talking to low-level devices, that is inherently unsafe. Rust can't do its fun compile time memory management magic because it's not actually managing memory. It is managing memory map devices, and that's quite a different thing. And then the last point I was going to make is essentially that there are plenty of other ways to screw up your code than just memory management. And Rust developers discovered that too.
Yeah, more is not total. So it's more secure. That doesn't mean it's totally secure. It's just a little better.
And there's also kind of this like intersection that you're going to have, because like as code has existed longer and people have banged on it, it's going to get more secure because you've fixed bugs. And so you've got all this Rust code that is very, very new in the kernel. And so just because of that, it's going to have a whole bunch of bugs in it. Maybe it has fewer bugs now than the C code did when it was first written. But it's still, I think there's still a bit of catching up to do. So we'll see.
In my argument I was trying to point at the Rust SU vulnerability. And he kind of came back, was like, well, it's new. There's going to be bugs. That doesn't make it not, I don't know. Secure's like, well, yeah, that's what I said. It's not secure.
The kernel's rusty. It's now a jalopy. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I never said that. I mean, come on. Just things to look out for.
But it's not an experiment anymore.
It is not.
Rust is not experimental.
It's here to stay.
It's here to stay, probably. Yep. All right. Let's talk about KDE for a minute. There's a couple of fun things in this week's KDE update. A few things that I am personally excited for. One is that KDE is adding in 6.6. Most of this is coming for 6.6. They're adding support for ambient light sensors, which I know phones have that. I didn't know laptops had that, but apparently laptops like the new Framework 13 has it. I'm very curious if the Framework 16 has it, because I've got one of those on the way. So support for that in KDE is going to be really interesting. I wonder if they're going to try to do dynamic brightness adjustment with that. That'd be interesting, kind of like your phone does. There's also a fix in Plasma 6.6. This is something I have noticed, and that is in Plasma. Trying to do a Windows HDR game sometimes looks terrible. And part of that is because the Plasma guys have some real strong ideas about the way HDR is supposed to work. And those ideas don't jive with the way that Windows decided HDR was supposed to work. And sometimes the games get caught in the middle. And so they're finally giving us a workaround of sorts that hopefully should automatically happen. Hopefully that'll fix some of the things that I've seen. They are once again fixing clipboard issues under Wayland. I've run into that one multiple times on KDE. And then one of the other ones that I saw that I really liked here is that Plasma 6.6 will reduce the frame drop on monitors with extremely high refresh rates. Definitely don't want to drop those frames. And then there's some other Portal stuff, and it's all good. Like, there's lots of goodness in here, but those were just some of the ones that really stuck out to me. We got the link to the Phronix article, and then that has the link off to the Nate Graham blog post.
My understanding was the sensor was so it could auto dim and take care of the.
Well, I mean, you figure that's why they put it in there, but I just don't know if KDE is actually going to use it for that, or if the only thing that it's going to be is you can run a command line and it'll tell you how bright it is.
Yeah. I think they'll auto adjust.
I imagine so.
Well, as Wizardling, I think it is in chat, I have Discord mode on, so I can't see his full name, but he's kind of pointed out that auto brightness is often not that great. And I've had the same experience with my phones. I've enabled it on my phone, and it just dims at poor moments. And
most of the time, my experience with auto brightness is that most of the time you don't notice it because it's working well enough that it's doing what it's supposed to. It's only when it fails that you notice it. And so,
yeah, and for me, it was failing multiple times a day.
Yeah, that's less than great.
I haven't. It's worked great for me.
Yeah, I really enjoy it. Like when I walk in with my kids, when my kids are trying to sleep and one of them wakes up or something, and I've got my phone, and it's not like the light of the sun while I'm trying to browse Discord or whatever.
I just go in there, turn down brightness. When I'm done, turn it up.
You do it manually. What a plebeian.
Well, I would do it automatic if it worked nice.
A Luddite, yes.
If it worked better, I would use it.
All right.
I guess a 4-year-old, 5-year-old phone.
Well, there's your problem.
It didn't work well then either, but.
Did anything work well 4 or 5 years ago? It was a whole different world.
Yeah, that timing there.
All right, Jeff, let's talk about video card performance. I think that's what we're talking about. What's new here?
It's kind of a double header benchmark, but earlier this month I covered the Nova driver and Mesa drivers in relation to the NVIDIA proprietary drivers. And we even looked backwards at how from July until recently, the open source drivers, they've increased 20% in performance. But that was another show. Well, today's story, we're doing that again, but we're also looking at how the current drivers for AMD cards are looking. And this is going to be more end of the day, what hardware should I get based on how well the drivers are stacking up and how well the hardware stacks up against each other. Because both Team Green and Red have been improving their drivers, and since memory prices are so high, maybe a new computer's not in the works, but maybe a GPU upgrade might scratch the itch. So the NVIDIA cards tested are using the 618 kernel with Mesa 26.0/develop NVK and Zinc for OpenGL graphics driver support. The proprietary driver is 580 .95.05, and it's on the 6.17 kernel, which is the default on Ubuntu 25.10. On the AMD Radeon side, they're using their upstream and open source driver support using the same Linux 6.18 kernel plus Mesa 26-Devel and combination. And it matches a lot with the Novu testing with the Mesa and the kernel. Now, as much as Michael Larable could, this is about comparing the different cards with the advancements made on the GPU drivers. The GPUs tested were the NVIDIA 50 series and the AMD 9000 series. Well, what did we find out? Looking at all the benchmarks by geometric mean, and just as a reminder, this is a mathematical mean that takes out spikes in the data. So it's basically, it gives you a better average, and one flyer doesn't totally wreck the data. So if anything's extremely outside of a normal distribution, it minimizes the effect of it. So the data where all the cards couldn't run was also removed to eliminate a shift in the data. So like in this case, the Vulkan ray tracing benchmarks, because the Novu driver doesn't support it currently. So all the results for the Vulkan ray tracing were not included in the final geometric mean. If you want a full open source stack, then the NVIDIA 9000 series cards, the AMD 9000 series cards are your best bet. The 9060 XT came in just above the 5060 Ti running the proprietary driver and just below the 580 running the Novu driver. The 9070 and 9070 XT were next to each other on the chart, coming in above the 5070 running the NVIDIA driver and just slightly behind the 5090 Novu and the 5080 NVIDIA proprietary driver. So 5090 with the Novu, 5080 with the proprietary were running just about the same speed on overall these benchmarks. Of course, when you look at just proprietary, the 5090 was running way out in front, but it's kind of a whole separate card. It's kind of semi-professional / ultimate gaming, Halo product for the average consumer. We have talked in the past how the Novu driver still has a long ways to go, but since July, they've had a 20% improvement. So at their current rate of development, it won't be too long, and there's not going to be much of a parity between the NVIDIA proprietary driver and the Novu / Nova when it's ready, or currently an Arch is ready, I guess, driver. So open source is catching up. Take a look at the article in the show notes to see which benchmarks matter the most to you. And depending on the specific benchmark, sometimes Team Red really does great against Team Green, and it gets out of the normal stacking order. But because the geometric mean, it's not all the time. Maybe that's your use case. So take a look at the results, and maybe it's time to treat yourself to a new GPU.
Yeah, I can say the RX 9070 XT is quite nice. I did finally do the upgrade.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's nice to be able to run like Unigen superposition on my previous card. I couldn't run the full 4K benchmark. It's like, you don't have enough video card memory for this.
Oof.
So
I think next, like you said, their memory is getting expensive. I think next time I upgrade my computer, I'm going to need to find a new computer that supports old memory.
Well, the problem is a lot of people are doing that, and the old memory is kind of expensive, and especially the old CPUs.
Well, this way I could bring my memory with me. I just take it out of my old box and put it in my new one.
Oh, I see. Okay.
That was a thing for a while. I'm trying to remember if that was the DDR3 to DDR4 or the DDR4 to DDR5. You could get like the same CPU, but do it with both kinds of memory. I think there were a few of those CPUs that could supported both.
There were, but it was motherboard dependent. So you couldn't just inter switch them. You had to have the either DDR3 or the DDR4 motherboard. And that was Intel that was supporting that. AMD did not have that.
Okay. That's been a few days since that last happened. I couldn't remember the exact details.
There's a few people rushing out and looking for used computers that people don't know what they've got. So they're like, oh, it's got 32 gigs of RAM. Okay, I'll buy it. And people think, oh, I got it. And then they realize the memory and it's worth more than the computer. And the 5700s and 57 X3Ds, they're all like sold out and going for twice what the modern CPU is, because so many people wanted to just do a CPU upgrade to their old AM4 motherboard system.
Yeah, makes sense. Crazy times we live in.
But you can get a hell of a deal on computer cases, power supplies,
all that other stuff.
Yeah, and actually GPUs are not too bad right now. The availability is pretty good.
Is that because people are taking their memory out and just selling that and like, well, now I got all this other parts here?
Well, a lot of people just aren't building anything. And a lot of like storage, memory, even a lot of CPUs are going into enterprise servers. Now you can say, well, wait a minute, the 9950 is not going into enterprise. No, but they're allocating that wafer instead of going to a consumer market. Now it's going to the Epics and the enterprise market. So, but cases, power supplies, they're just like, yeah, we're going to have some deals trying to move this stuff.
It might not be a terrible idea to pick some of that stuff up now, and at some point in the future, the prices and everything else will come down. We'll hopefully at some point.
Buy the things now that will be usable in future products like power supplies. Yeah, motherboard may not be a good idea because
motherboard will be out of date. Well, I mean that's interesting though, because like you can run a case from like 20 years ago. Those have not changed a whole lot.
No.
Power supply close to it, just about.
I'm still running a Silverstone Fortress 2.
Yeah, as long as your power supply has enough power to support whatever's coming, you should be good. Because maybe an adapter is needed, but they all pretty much, I think, the same voltages since
pretty much
forever.
It's the same connector since the ATX standard came out.
Yep. All right. Well, here in a second, we're going to get into some command line tips. Before we do that, we're going to take our final break for the show.
Hi there, Leo Laporte here. I just wanted to let you know about some of the other shows we do on this network. You probably already know about This Week in Tech. Every Sunday, I bring together some of the top journalists in the tech field to talk about the tech stories. It's a wonderful chance for you to keep up on what's going on with tech, plus be entertained by some very bright and fun minds. I hope you'll tune in every Sunday for This Week in Tech. Just go to your favorite podcast client and subscribe. This Week in Tech from the TWiT Network. Thank you.
All right, Rob, you are up first, and the only thing I see here is SOT. Why does this sound like a children's book or a very weird? It sounds like some insult that you would hear about from some other country, like the Australians might call themselves. They would call their enemies this. You SOT.
Did I put SOT in there twice?
You did.
Yeah, it's only one SOT. I don't know, copy and paste error or something when I put on the notes. It's just SOT, just SOT. I don't know what it means. I did not get into depth into that aspect of this command line tip. So SOT,
system observation tool.
Hey, there you go. It's a system observation tool, and that's exactly what it is. Kind of like all the other top things, like top, B top, H top, whatever other tops. It is kind of like a nice dashboard to kind of monitor various things. For those who are looking, you can see my screen. Upper left has my CPU, has my cores, my threads, where it's at. Now, this is a VM, so not a whole lot is going on right now. It's purely for testing for the show. You got right below, they have a box that has the memory and various somewhat graphical representations with different stars. I don't know what they are. You got the disk with the read writes. You have a health score for CPU, memory, disk, processor temperature. I have everything's at 100% health. Maybe it wouldn't be if I actually did some things on here. There's a box in the middle that says SOT. Actually, I don't know what that is. I didn't think about that. It has a bunch of stars in it.
That might just be the logo.
It might just be the logo. It may have nothing to do with anything.
I installed this on mine, and it says SOT, and there's some kind of wavy little bit graphics that go by there. So
I should say
in a virtual machine.
I am running this on a non-graphical system. There's no X or Wayland or KDE or any of that. So I am running this on just the console. So that's why it's going to be different. You probably have a little more of a graphicalness to yours. But when I use command line, it's often when I'm SSHing into my servers and doing things. So that's my preferred use case for command line. If I'm on a graphical interface, I might as well use a graphical tool. But anyway, I digress. You have a spot for networking connections, details there. You have a spot for your processes. And I'll move my head. That's right behind me. And then at the very bottom right, you have a networking kind of showing your up and down, your bits per second, your max, and total, and IP, and various details. Here, I'll get out of the way there. No, I can't get out of the way there. Yeah. It's there. You probably could see a little bit there. Anyway, so yeah, it's a nice little, you need a one spot command tool to just kind of monitor your system. There it is. It's SOT.
Cool. It's easy to install with pipx.
It is.
That is the way to do it. That's the way I would tell people to do it. Pipx is great. I don't know if we've ever had that as a command line tip. Maybe we should if we haven't. Pipx is really good. It's not the one that it's not the one I picked for today, but
it's came up.
It's what.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's what because I installed it and I used their installation script and I had to install pipx before it would work. It says, "Oh, we have this. Well, you don't have pipx," so I had to install it. Then it said, "Oh, yeah, okay, here you go."
Yeah, I saw that and I did not want to run their script because I didn't want to have to take the time to look at it. And I'm not going to just run their script without looking at it. And then I saw, we install with pipx. Well, there you go. I'm sold. Looks like we've not covered pipx. I claim that for a couple of weeks. We'll start the new year off and I'll talk about pipx. There we go. I have a real quick one, actually, with thanks to my wife, the Mrs. Jonathan Bennett. Reminded me of something that we've not ever talked about before. And this is generally KDE specific in the way I'm going to tell you about it, although I believe you can do this in GNOME and the other desktops as well. If you're on your desktop, like your desktop environment, and you're working with a window, you can right-click in there, and there is going to be an option to open in terminal. KDE has this in Dolphin. I know that, like I said, GNOME has something similar as well. Open a terminal up with you already in the right directory to be able to look at it. And that's cool. That's the one that she reminded me of. And then there's something else that I've been doing actually quite a bit while doing code compiles, because you end up in these weird nested directories. You're in source/firmware/source/bin/output/.pio/builds. You're 15 levels deep suddenly. It's like, I don't want to double click through all of that. Well, you can just go, change directory in the terminal to wherever you want to go, and then launch your file manager from there. So in the case of KDE, it's just you run Dolphin. You CD to where you want to be and run Dolphin, and it'll pull you up a Dolphin window that's right there. And then you can, copy and paste it into Google Drive or whatever it is that you're doing. You've got your files right there to be able to look at. So not exactly a command line tip, but say about 50% a command line tip to be able to get to where you're wanting to work with right away. And,
we'll round up for you.
Yeah, there you go. And then tip of the hat.
Round up to one.
Mrs. Jonathan Bennett for reminding me of that one.
Should have brought her on the show to give it to everyone.
Yeah, that would have been good.
I believe she has her hands full with the 4 children out there at the moment. Probably would not want to jump on the show. So anyway, Jeff, dog. As in, what's up, dog?
Well, this will actually start out as somewhat of a joke. So when we're all doing the show notes and we have a link to what, we all share a link to a same document and we're working on it. It isn't always filled out as we're still looking what we want to cover. And sometimes a command line tip, if a person has a blank line, someone might fill it in with something funny or silly little thing. Like maybe Jonathan will have an empty line and Rob will fill out something in there like, as for Jonathan's command line tip is, I should shave my head so I can be cool like Rob and Jeff, or, one of many other silly, goofy things. Well, I was going to do that to Rob a couple weeks ago, and I was going to fill in dog, the better cat replacement, because my cat doesn't like me. But then I thought I should check to see if that was real. And to my surprise, dog is a real command.
I could have got a freebie.
Dog is not a better cat command, though. It is kind of like dig, and it's a command line DNS client. It has colorful output, supports DNS over TLS and DNS over HTTPS protocols, and can admit JSON output. Now, the usage is pretty straightforward, at least for the simpler commands. For example, dog space example.net gives you a query of the A record of a domain using the default settings. Dog space example.net space MX looks up the MX records. If you add at 1.1.1.1, it will use a specific name server instead. And if at the end of that you add a capital T, it'll use TCP rather than UDP. So take a look at the man page in the show notes for the full usage of what goes well beyond a simple command line tip, because it can do a lot of powerful things over a lot of different transport options with a lot of different outport options, and it can check a lot of different record types. So happy researching.
Very cool. Dog, the better dig.
It looks like dog is a application written by Alan Popey, apparently. At least, maybe it was a snap by him. I did a snap install just now, and it says dog 0.1.0 from Alan Popey.
Interesting.
I don't know.
I don't even know who Alan Popey is. Name means nothing to me.
He used to work for Ubuntu. He's involved in a lot of projects.
Okay.
Right now it says dog is maintained by Benjamin Ogham Sago, Sago.
Yeah. He probably snapped it up. He snaps up a lot of stuff.
Probably. All right. Well, hey, that is the show, and a little bit of behind the scenes news. This is the last show that we'll do live for the year. So all of you that watch live, you'll have to you can watch the show when it comes out. I think it'll come out at about live time. We have one recorded, and so you won't miss it. You'll get your fix. It won't be us live. We'll be off hanging out with our families and having Christmas. So I want to let each of the guys get the last word in on anything if they want to, or plug their stuff. Rob, quit playing around with dog and hit the buttons to plug your plug your things.
All right. So first, I want to plug that few seconds that I've had with dog. I like that. That is a lot nicer than dig or NSLookup already. That's a nice program. Thanks. Though I wish you wouldn't have caught that, and I wish I could have found that for my own tip.
Well, Merry Christmas. There's your present, Rob.
But it would have been nice for me to be able to show people that. Instead, I'm just going to show people my website, because that is where you could come connect with me. Maybe I'll post some things during our Christmas break because I'm bored and I just need to do some Linuxy stuff. I don't know. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. If you want to see if I do or don't, come find me at robertpcampbell.com. And on there is links to my LinkedIn, my Twitter, my Blue Sky, Mastodon. And if you really appreciate what I do, click the little coffee cup to donate a coffee to me. And if you don't, well, you can always just say hi on one of these other social media platforms, and it'd be cool.
All right. Yeah, very cool. And Jeff?
Two quick things. One is you can find me on LinkedIn through Rob, but I will tell you, if you send me an invite on LinkedIn, if you're not already connected to Rob, I probably won't accept your invite. Just so people know, I get a ton of random spam, trolling, phishing type ones. So just a FYI, if you want to connect with Rob, then you'll find me. The other thing is Poetry Corner. And I do have an end of the year special poem, so you will finish out the year on a good one. But today's is roses are red, violets are blue, unexpected error at line 32. Have a great week, everybody, and have a great year.
All right. Excellent. Appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for ending the year out strong with us. It's been a lot of fun today and every day, of course. Thank you for being here. If you want more of me, you can go check out Hackaday. That's where Floss Weekly lives these days. That is where, up until very recently, my security column lived. But as I explained in the last one that I wrote, I have had 4 careers and I now have 4 children, and it was time for something to give. And sadly, that security column is one of the things that's going to, at least for the time being, take a break. We're going to step away from that one. So I'm down to 3 careers, which is still too many. So I'm still working on some stuff. But this show's not going away. We like this one too much. We do appreciate everybody that's here, though, and those that watch, those that listen, whether they get us live or on the download. And we'll be back. You get to see us in a week. We'll be back next year for another Untitled Linux Show.